Hey, I'm Nancy, and this is as far west as I go this whole journey. 5 months ago, back in Florida, Glacier was the park I was building this whole trip towards. And when I finally got here, I was nervous. Big elevation, grizzly country, solo hiking, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for this. But there I was, my 11th national park this trip. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I started just outside the park in Hungry Horse, where I had full hookups for a few nights. And once I moved into Apgar Campground, it was 9 days with no hookups. And 6 of those 9 days, I had to change campsites. Was it worth it? You tell me. My first stop was Trail of the Cedars. It was an easy, flat boardwalk the whole way. Old growth cedar and hemlock, some of the oldest trees in the park. It was a great way to ease in before I tried anything harder. On the way back, I drove some of the pull-offs along Lake McDonald. I found this turquoise waterfall that I wasn't expecting, and the water really is that color. And then this beach with people swimming, the mountains reflecting perfectly off the water. Genuinely one of those postcard moments you don't plan for. I was so excited to get my own paddleboard in the water, so I took it to the inspection station, got my tag for the time I'd be at Apgar, and blew it up. Ready for another day. Then I stopped at the visitor center to check the ranger program schedule for the week, of course. The next day, Willie and I got up early for the drive to Polebridge. It's this tiny off-grid community on the park's northwest edge. I've heard it takes about 2 hours each way. It took us 1. And this place is famous for one thing: Huckleberry Bear Claws, a 100-year-old bakery, no cell service, and it was worth every mile of the gravel road to get there. Now back to those 6 campsite moves. Apgar books up fast. Getting one night is competitive enough, let alone a long stretch. So my strategy was just keep trying, grab whatever's open, and move when I have to. The tall tree canopy here also makes it tough to charge up my solar on some sites. On day 3, I spent the whole morning with Willie parked at the visitor center, just trying to get my batteries back up. I learned something this week. Just because I'm not paying for electric doesn't mean it's free. Without hookups, you're still paying for power, just in sun exposure, planning, and attention instead of dollars. Laundry was its own adventure. I found a campground just outside the park boundary that would let me do laundry. Big rig friendly, full hookups, running about $155 to $200 a night. But getting back into the park meant waiting at least 30 minutes in line at the entrance. Lesson learned. I didn't leave the park again after that. Once we settled into a rhythm, life here slowed all the way down. Long walks, reading by the water, bike rides most days, hikes when the weather allowed. I rode my e-bike to the visitor center and through Apgar Village and along the bike trails a few times. It was such an easy, low-key way to see more of the area and not worry about parking. And the paddle boarding. How could I not? With Lake McDonald just a 5-minute walk from my campsite, and the weather was really hot. Willie and I were out there almost 3 hours one afternoon. And every single night at 7 p.m., the Ranger program. Hands down, Willie's favorite part of the day. One was Night of the Grizzly, the real history of how one attack changed the entire way this park manages bears and people. Another was about how places in Glacier actually got their names. But my favorite was a talk on the tribal history of this land with a speaker from the Salish tribe. Hearing that perspective added something to this park I hadn't expected going in, and it stuck with me more than almost anything else from this stretch. As for the hiking, I decided on Avalanche Lake, a moderate hike, 4.5 miles round trip. "783 feet of elevation gain, and it should have been manageable. But about halfway up, I was ready to turn around. I was tired, a little discouraged, and honestly considering just calling it quits. And then I met a campground neighbor out hiking with her husband. We got to talking, and they just kept me going. I don't think I would have made it to the lake without them. And when I finally got there, not quite the same color you see on social media, but beautiful nonetheless. Those hyper turquoise photos everywhere, that's not quite what I saw. This is the real, unfiltered version."
When we were in
Yeah, that's a waterfall
in
right
the
there.
was it the Smokies?
Yeah.
They had an explanation, but I don't remember what it said.
Before I left the west side of Glacier, I did the red bus tour up the Going to the Sun road. And honestly, it was such a relief to have someone else drive for
More of a
once.
steep pace or by those glaciers. They call that kind of a mountain. this garden wall all the way down to the Granite Park Chalet in 7.6 miles. Just one of the many trails here in Glacier. There's over 700 miles of maintained hiking trails here in this park.
They only give you about 20 minutes at the tops at Logan Pass, but I made the best of my time. Hopefully. You're fine. No, you're fine. I heard you come. And this tour finally got me inside Lake McDonald Lodge. I tried the day before and I just couldn't find parking. Sometimes the easiest way to see something is to let someone else handle the driving. I had a star party planned one night at Apgar, rangers, telescopes, the whole thing. It didn't happen. Smoke had already started rolling in, enough to wash out the sky. I'd barely been able to see the mountains from my paddleboard that same afternoon, so honestly, I wasn't surprised. It just kept on getting smokier during my time on the west side. Wildfire smoke from Oregon, Washington, Utah, and Canada, all drifting in at once. But by the end of my time here, you couldn't even see the mountains at the north end of the lake. It's not the ending I expected for this leg, but it's the real one. And I think that's worth showing you too. Not every day out here looks like the postcard. Sometimes it just looks like smoke. Glacier still exceeded every single expectation I walked in with. Smoke, moves, tired legs, and all, and I loved every minute of it. It took me 5 months to get to this point, the farthest west I'll go on this whole journey. But my adventure is far from over. I've still got 4 months and a long road back to Florida ahead of me. My next stop is the east side of Glacier. I'll see you there.